Alright, so this is a new video that I'm going to put out every single month, ranking all the films that I saw in each month. Now I'm going to start with January because I didn't record one for January, and I'm going to do one for February. I'm going to post these on my second channel, which is the channel you're on right now. If you'd like to see my actual reviews for these new releases, well then you can go to my main channel, Chan's movie vlog channel, and both of these channels have reviews for stuff, and that's the point of these channels. Just one is I'm more into reviewing current movies or movies that are relevant at the time or whatever. This channel is more about just talking about whatever I feel like, whatever TV shows or whatever, whether they're relevant to talk about or not. So let's talk about the three films I saw that were new releases. Of course, I watched tons of older movies, things like that. I'm a movie buff guy, so I watched more than this. But these were just the three that I watched this month. So let's talk about them. So yeah, let's start at the bottom. This is the only Netflix movie I watched this month, but it was really bad. Charming. So this wasn't made by Netflix. It was a. I don't know who this was made by, but basically this film was distributed uh and made in a different country. I don't know exactly where. If anyone knows, you can feel free to let me know in the comments. But this was an animated film that came out and was a Netflix original on a Friday, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And it was very bad. It it was kind of subverting the twist on fairy tales, but the characters were just unlikable. The story was boring. The pop songs were very irritating. It was just a terrible film. No one should ever watch this movie. Um, it's just it's just ugh. That's all I can tell you. Ugh. Just bad. All right, let's go on to number 2 on this list. Very short list, but whatever. I watched Lockdown. This was an HBO Max original film, and made during the pandemic, and it was an interesting watch. I wouldn't say it was a good watch or a good movie. Basically, we have the Idris Elba and I'm forgetting the other actress, but basically they're in this movie, and this was filmed and shot during COVID, so and it actually takes place during COVID. That's why it's called Lockdown, and the first half is about this married couple with like some celebrity cameos, and there's like some of my favorites like Ben Stiller, and they show up over Zoom call, and then it's just this couple who's married and their marriage is falling apart, and kind of just dealing with that and how they're kind of stuck in the same house right now because of COVID. They can't really do anything, and it's about and stuff. And then the second half to like not second half to third act is a is set is a heist movie set during COVID, and it's just I don't know what the film wanted me to do. Like, did it want me to root for characters committing a terrible action? Um, you know, it was kind of a bitter, kind of angry movie. It was the pacing was not very good, and the performances were fine. It was interesting. Like I wouldn't say I was ever bored by it. I just didn't. It just didn't grab me. It just did not work. I think if you want to see this movie, it's definitely an interesting one time watch. Again, never bored by this one. I wouldn't say it's worth watching more than that. It's not the best film, so yeah. And then the number one best movie I saw is The Little Things. Now, The Little Things was was basically actually I'm forgetting a movie, but we'll talk about that next, I guess, because that is my actual number one. Um, I don't know how I forgot this movie, but yeah, The Little Things was an HBO Max in theaters, same day drop thing. You know, they're gonna be doing this all year. This was the first one they did it with. Well, not necessarily the first one. That was Wonder Woman, but this is the first one that they did this year. Um, it had a great cast: Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, Jared Leto, all three Academy Award winning actors, and they all gave good performances. I don't know if they were the right performances for the movie for the most part. I mean, Denzel was pretty great, but the rest were kind of like, I don't know if you're the right people for this movie. But it was a very generic, kind of boring cop movie. There wasn't too much interesting about it. I know the ending didn't sit well with a lot of people. I get why the ending is the way it is, because the ending makes sense in the context of the movie, but it's just kind of like, I just think this movie was just a failure. And I think with these actors and these performances, I needed more than what this gave me. And yeah, now the best movie I saw in January was One Night in Miami. This was an Amazon Prime original movie. It's it was about Sam E. Cook, um, Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and some other historical figures I'm forgetting the name of. But basically, they were all alive at the same time. And they were all, at this point, very different with how they handled things during this time period, with how they spoke out against racism and things like that. But basically, this is a movie about how a fictional movie based on these real historical figures and how they kind of meet up and have a conversation about how they deal with certain things and stuff. And it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting thought experiment. It's a very interesting movie. Definitely worth watching. I think it's definitely going to be a movie that probably will be on my top of the year list. I'm not really sure, but all I can say is I love the movie very much, and I don't know how many times I'm going to rewatch it again. I could see myself rewatching it again, maybe once or twice in the future, but definitely very far out. But I still think it was a very well made, interesting film, an interesting kind of thought experiment. I really enjoyed the film, and yeah. Alright, stay tuned for my ranking of all the movies I saw in January, or not January, February, coming soon.